Was there any way the US could have prevented Pearl Harbor? According to General Chennault, the iconoclastic leader of the Flying Tigers, the answer was yes. But how? General Chennault was obsessed with the idea of combining radio intelligence and human spotters to create a fighter control system for military aviation and win more battles against the enemy. And in World War II in China, Chennault pioneered an incredible innovation known as the warning net, the Jingbao system.
It was so perfect, it only failed once, and we'll get to that failure in a minute. So what on earth is a warning net? General Chennault's job during World War II was to protect southwestern Chinese cities from bombing raids by the Japanese, who were indiscriminately bombing huge swaths of China.
He wanted to protect the city of Kunming from unannounced Japanese bombing raids, so he set up 4 radio stations in a ring around the city. Each radio station was connected to 8 reporting points, each responsible for a 20-kilometer square of sky.
The stakes were high. One undetected raid could mean hundreds of lives lost. The pattern was repeated again and again. Farmers in remote villages would listen for sounds like the buzz of airplane motors and report the rough direction and the number of planes to their superiors. These farmers would use radios to relay this information back to their home base.
Then at home base, the military leadership would plot the location-based reports using pins on a physical map, showing the location, direction, and perhaps even the number of aircraft heading their way. And remember, this was all before radar was widely in use. And this information propagated all across the city. Military radio operators could use this information to tell fighter airplanes to get up in the air in advance to prepare to take the enemy bombers head on before they arrived. And in the cities, these were extremely useful to warn city residents of incoming bombing.
Atop the hills surrounding Chinese cities, these ball handlers would warn the other citizens of incoming bombers. Operators would hoist up a number of warning balls like these ones, Chinese-style lanterns, using a sophisticated system with the colours and number of lanterns symbolising specific actions to take. So this was one vast warning net spread all over free China, from rural outposts to radio operators all the way to hoisted hilltop ball lanterns like these ones.
And with this warning net, the Chinese and US military allies could plot the movements of planes with radar-like precision, all over the country, including here in Guilin. Literally the only time a Japanese plane bombed an American base in China unannounced was on the Christmas Eve of 1944, when it cleverly snuck in, copying the traffic patterns of American transports circling to land after a trip over the infamous hump.
So wait, what does this have to do with Pearl Harbor? Well, when the bombings occurred, Pearl Harbor did have a radar system called the oscilloscope set up, but the warning from the radio operator was disregarded by military leadership at the time. So radar alone wasn't the key, but Chennault's warning net could have prevented this.
Previously, Chennault had trained at Luke Field on Pearl Harbor during his military career, and he'd previously strongly advocated to have one warning net created for the defense of Pearl Harbor because he foresaw just how vulnerable Pearl Harbor was to an attack from aggressive Japanese forces. Long before Pearl Harbor, Chennault had envisioned a warning net for Hawaii, even back when he was based there. He posted 2 enlisted lookouts atop a water tower with binoculars to scan the skies. In his book, he writes, there was no air raid warning system in Hawaii then, so we organized our own crude alert system, in his book, The Way of a Fighter. He also imagined having naval spotters on ships in the Pacific Ocean.
In Chennault's plan, after the spotters viewed the incoming aeroplanes, his tightly drilled fighters would rapidly board their fighters and take off, becoming prepared to wipe out the incoming bombers before they reached their targets. So perhaps, if they'd listened to Chennault and set up some spotters, radio intelligence and highly trained personnel, the US could have completely avoided the disaster that ended up occurring. But what do you think? Do you think Chennault's warning net could have prevented this attack? Do let us know in the comments below.